Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon in cooperation with our BCCT member, Med Group. The webinar today is highly topical. We're going to find out how we can make sure we use the use of data analytics to ensure our company's accounts remain free from fraud, and learn about IT forensics and cybersecurity. We all gather more data in our organizations, and we're retaining more information stored on electronic formats than ever. So we have to find a way to analyze what we have, and look how we can protect that from cyber hacks and other fraudulent behavior. So with such a vast amount of data, abusive scheme transactions are hidden and are difficult to detect by traditional means. So our specialists today are going to discuss about data analytics and how they can assist us in uncovering signs of potential fraud with the aid of software that can sort through large amounts of data in order to highlight anomalies. So we have a very knowledgeable and experienced set of speakers today. So during this webinar, we have Kaan, who is the CIO, and Herkan from data analytics, and also from the Vitriol Tech. We have Atelier Bey, who are going to give us the benefit of their knowledge and advice, and ensure that at least we have the right information in order to protect what we have. So I'm going to hand over now to Kaan, and he's going to moderate the session today and introduce the panelists in more detail. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having us today. Actually, my name is Kaan. I'm working especially for forensic auditing site, and we are a distributor of Caseware product in Turkey. Atalay, he is also solution partner. He especially work on the cybersecurity area, especially on the penetration test and fraud, cybersecurity fraud. Ercan, he is a data analytic advisor and also our project manager. Especially, he is working on the different automation process on the big data analytics. I'm gonna start to little bit show about the fraud, how to happen, and how to detection. Okay. Especially the Canadian government identify a discrepancy between data from citizens and companies and those from the banks. The software is written by the auditor for the purpose of the auditing to the Canadian government in the beginning of the 80s. This type of software called CAAT, Computer Aided Auditing Tools. Caseware founded in 1988, now is over mostly 500,000 users in the all over the world. Especially governments are using our tool. Canadian, United States, Germany, UK. And after that, we can easily say most of the Fortune 400, 500 companies are using, and also Big Four and major accounting firm also using our data analytics tool for different types of purposes, internal auditing or external auditing. Okay, I'm just a little bit short, some of them. We will share our presentation also after that. Data analytics is the process of examining data in order to formulate conclusion. What data analytics can do. Data analytics software enables the user to obtain quick overview of data and can drill down the detailed information. Using data analytics software, every transaction can be involved or touched, identify anomalies, trends, pattern, or concern. You can do it with a large volume of data. Why you may need a data analytic tool? By using data analytics, auditors are able to discover and analyze patterns, identify anomalies, and obtain other information relevant data population that may be very useful for the organization. Okay, what can we do with the idea? We can do some quick tests, deeper analyze, and we can do too many things. Okay, I'm just quickly pass over to there. You can able to any possible data acquisition from the different kinds of data warehouse, data software such as SAP, Oracle. It doesn't matter. We can obtain all kinds of data. And just quickly switch. Okay. How much does the fraud cost? Fraud is happening at your organization. You just don't know it, actually. Then again, maybe you do, but you are not sure how pervasive the problem is. Where to begin your anti-fraud journey and how to enhance your current fraud risk management practice. Actually, I checked yesterday another report from the UK. UK is searching with the University of, just I try to remember, University of Portsmouth. UK actually losing last year 137 billion pounds to the fraud issue. Unfortunately, fraud is rising almost 20% in England last year. Usually, every single company is losing 5% of the profits every single year. Probably will be increased next year, probably around 80.5, maybe 9%, unfortunately. This is the definition of the fraud, and also you can see the different law. And a short definition of fraud is outlined in Black's Law Dictionary: an act of intentional deception or dishonesty perpetrated by one or more individuals, generally for financial gain. However, you can say fraud a little bit like a thief, but it's a difference between thief and fraud. In many cases, the severity of penalties available under the Fraud Act is greater than those under the Thief Act. For example, the Thief Act carries a lower minimum sentence. Other Material Fraud Act points are little bit much higher. And you can see the difference between theft and fraud definition, little bit difference, but also in many cases, the severity of penalties happen both sides. You can see the relevant legislation in Turkey, UK, and also generally US. It doesn't matter how to put new legislation. However, is going to be what happen higher and higher. How big is the problem? In 2020, ACFE reports usually generally $2.6 billion lost on the fraud side. Detection of the fraud normally takes place after 14 months, unfortunately. Mostly hotline or whistleblower line affects 56%, and other effective is using data analytics, 62. This is the unfortunately average loss per case, almost $1.5 million. And this is the report of the nation, loss per case, median. Usually median $125,000. Don't forget, every single company, and also government and federal and local governments are losing at least 5% of the revenue to fraud each year. What is the type of corporate fraud? We call also internal fraud. Three different category actually: asset misappropriation, fraudulent statements, and corruption. You can see a little bit information about that. This is the more. We can actually separate the corruption and bribery, because sometimes corruption and bribery going each other. However, sometimes not. You can see the little bit high level information about each fraudulent activity, especially asset misappropriation. It has a cash and another inventory and all other assets loss. This is the corruption. It has a conflict of interest, because if corruption happens, it means at least two persons or two different groups are usually doing that. Mostly, every single companies is losing the money from this perspective, asset misappropriation. Corruption is not asset misappropriation, because asset misappropriation is happen with this single person, but if it is corruption, at least two person or two different kinds of groups involved. And say financial statement fraud. Maybe do you remember last year happened in Germany, Wirecard fraud? This kind of fraud, financial statement fraud. KPMG discovered for this fraud. KPMG and German governments are using our tool, and also discovered by using our tool. And Wirecard financial fraud, it was 1.9 billion euro. Type of this financial fraud that exists: fixtures, sale, timing difference, early revenue recognition, incorrect asset valuation, concealment, omission of the liability and expenses, misleading disclosure, you can say. Now, how is fraud done? When you see the median loss, especially happen on the asset misappropriation side, 86%, but however, your loss, median loss is $100,000. When you look at the financial statement fraud, 10%, but your median loss almost $1 million. This is the difference. You can see the Fraudster cover more than one type of occupational fraud. And also, this is the asset misappropriation. When you see the heat map on the right on the site, you can see especially on the billing and non-cash or check and payment tampering happen. How the fraud scheme vary by the organization size. Less than 100 employees, mostly you can able to see check and payment, expense reimbursement, and also cash larceny. And more than 100 employees, you can see almost 50%, 47% corruption. This is another heating area by the industry. When you see the corruption, unfortunately, higher parties, telecommunication and transportation and warehousing. When you're talking about the corruption, what is the corruption? Corruption is unfortunately one of the major fraud risks for the organization. Maybe do you remember the fourth case in Turkey of the beginning of this year? That was actually corruption. When you check the corruption perception index in 2020, this is from the UK site. Corruption index started in 1995. That time, England's position was 2002. In the United Kingdom position was 10. Nowadays, position 11. On the Turkey perspective, this is unfortunately we start on 1995. 29 position, nowadays 86, unfortunately, probably will go very close 100 in 2022. Okay, let's see how are the employees fraud first detected. This is the most frequently used method to hide fraud. I actually discovered a couple of times when did the forensic auditing, especially first three created fraud in the physical documents. Yes, that's really happened. Altered physical documents, and also that's really happened, especially less than 100 employees company. And you can see the other risk area to consider. And also don't forget the procurement fraud. Especially every single manufacturing company has this kind of fraud. Duplicate invoicing. This is all the detail. I'm not going to explain the software engineering fraud. Atalay will be explained, but I'm just showing you how can be different kinds of social engineering techniques. Actually, they are going to be higher and higher every single day. When you look to control fight against the fraud, you must know what does the fraudster look like. This is the picture. So what does the fraudster look like? Well, there's some interesting facts about the internal fraudster according to the ACFE insights. 42% were staff-level employees, and 36% were mid-level managers. 44% were not living beyond their means. 45% work in the accounting, primary operations, or sales function of the victim organization. 47% has worked for the victim organization for less than 6 years. 62% were between the age 31 and 45. 55% work alone in the committing their scheme. 87% were first-time offenders with no criminal history of fraudulent behavior. And this is the 7K warning style, especially 85% for all fraudsters displayed at least one. You must check every single one. This is the fraud triangle. When you talk about the fraud triangle, it states of individuals are likely to commit fraud when two elements, motivation, opportunity, and realization come together. When you see the motivation, this is actually a explanation of the opportunity when it appears, financial pressure, especially on after the COVID time, wife pressure, work-related pressure, other pressure, fear and family. Opportunities to commit fraud are created by weak internal control, poor security over company properties, poor IT governance, and the company, if doesn't use the data analytics, what kinds of type, it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose your control of your employees. How is the fraud discovered? Actually, well, according to Association of Certified Fraud Examiners 2020 report to nations, tip of whistleblowing 51%, plus accidental discovery 5%, 56% from that side. Internal audit 9%, plus management review 11%, 20%. External audit 5%, account reconciliation 5%, surveillance monitoring 4%, IT concerns 2%, notification by law enforcement 2%, others 7%. When you see the data analytics, if you put and using data analytics in your company, you can at least discover 52% of the fraudulent activities. Before undertaking a fraud investigation, we need to understand where to look. All fraud display predictable profile. Detection involves simply knowing where to look and paying attention to detail. And assessments should be performed periodically to identify potential business area and team to mitigate it, which will identify if an investigation is required. Once the area has been identified, a risk assessment and analysis should be performed following the 7-step process flow by assessing the likelihoods and significance of potential fraud risk. There is the ability to apply preventive and directive procedures. Management must then evaluate the significance of this risk and decide one of the nature and extent of fraud prevention and detection. I'm going to show a couple of different kinds of frauds from different kinds of organization and, for example, retail, especially point of sale fraud happen, you can say. When you're talking about the retail area, you can consider you are not losing 5%. You are losing mostly 10 or 15% each year, because unfortunately, retail side frauds in the frauds happen much more than regular manufacturing or different and other kinds of companies. This is the IT login fraud example. I'm gonna show different type of frauds within the sector. You know, when you see the financial or retail, it doesn't matter. You can see the especially payroll and expense fraud, and also construction. It doesn't matter. Government, health, and housing. It doesn't matter. Fraud is everywhere. You cannot. You don't have any exception, unfortunately. I'm gonna show a little bit explanation of construction fraud, bit rigging. This is happening in our country, unfortunately. And don't forget, you have a every company, every owner of the company has a audit right. When you making the agreement with your employees or other companies, you can put this single audit right on your NDO or other agreements. When you suspect something fraudulent activity, you can easily detect with your audit right. Especially if you have some suppliers, you definitely put that audit right in your agreement. Otherwise, you're gonna drink cold water after that. I'm gonna summarize in a couple minutes, and after I'm gonna give the speak to Atalay. This is the Benford law, status scam fraud. Actually, when you're using the Benford law, you can discover frauds very easily, and also not just the company or other governmental activity fraud. Actually, when you're using the Benford law, you can catch the election fraud. It happened in the United States actually. Last election, some of the auditors used the Benford law tools with the idea and discovered a couple of the electional fraud in the United States on the different parts. And it has a couple different actually academic papers on the Benford law activity, 2012 Vladimir Putin, or you can see in the Iran election last couple of years. This is some sample of the HR and payroll fraud. It's common ghost employee, overpayment, or commission. This is the red flag of the payroll frauds. Okay, this is the explanation of the money laundering. Unfortunately, they are is growing every single country, and also in our country, we have every single country actually has a different kinds of legislation. However, if you are not using the legislation to control, it doesn't matter. Money laundering is happening. You must recheck the data. You can easily. This is the actually typical question to answer before beginning of the fraud investigation. First, every single company, it must it must have fraud policy. If you have an internal auditing team, it is good, but not enough. You must need to some data analytic tools. If you don't have the internal auditing team, you must hire outside team. Some as in Turkey also, it has a couple different companies are giving the internal auditing outsourcing. You must think about it. Okay, I'm finished, Chris. I'm gonna close.
Can I
Yes.
come in?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. We have a question here. Will there be any conflict between audit right against KVKK? I'm not familiar with that, so you probably know what that means. If you look on the Q&A.
Yeah. Actually, no, because you have a agreement with your supplier or your employees. This is totally internal. This is totally internal. It's not outside business.
Okay. Well, I think that answers that one. A question from me. I mean, in other presentations, particularly on corruption and fraud, one point was made very strongly that your supply chain also has to be free of corrupt activities and fraud. And something that I don't know how you'd advise companies to do this, but how do they check that their supply chain is actually free from any corrupt or fraudulent activity?
That's very hard. In Europe or United States is doing with the external auditing or internal auditing papers. In Turkey, very hard. It's not. I try to. Okay. I try to explain, but very hard for that one is very hard because if you have internal auditing and you are doing it with external auditing, you have very clear about the. You're not actually very clear about the fraudulent activity, but however, you are at least a little bit white than others. The supplier part, if you are put an agreement with auditing rights, you can do the auditing that part also. In Turkey, it's not happening, unfortunately. Maybe some very huge, very high level companies, such as 3M, P&G. That part, okay, but I'm not sure the mid-level and low-level companies. I couldn't clarify, unfortunately, Chris.
It's difficult to answer, but I know both in the US, as you mentioned, and also in the UK. I mean, they will come after you. Yes. If they find any corrupt activity that you may not be aware of within your supply chain.
Actually, that happened in the last year in Germany. That Wirecard fraud. Usually, Wirecard company Ernst & Young with the external auditing, but the government, German government suspect, and after put external auditing job with the KPMG. they did the external auditing with the Wirecard and discovered the fraud.
Okay, well, thank you. I think if you'd like to introduce Atalay Bey and
Okay, Atalay is the one of the white hacker guy. You know, two different kinds of hackers in all the world, black one and white one. White one hack to you and take your money. Black one hack to you, take your money without any permission. That's the difference between each other. And okay, let's start, and we will explain a little bit later. Atalay?
Okay, and can you see my screen? Do you see it? Kaan, do you see my screen now? Okay. Well, I am the founder of Vitriol Tech, and we are a cybersecurity consulting company, and we are a solution partner of Mr. Kaan's company, also Med Group. So we are also based in Istanbul, and we have more than 20 years of experience in cybersecurity. And personally, I am a certified penetration testing engineer. I'm a certified secure web application engineer, a certified professional ethical hacker, which means white hat hacker, as Mr. Kaan also mentioned, a certified information system security officer. That means I am the one who tries to make the company continue the ISMS process, the information security systems management. So I am also an ISO 271 lead auditor, which means I can audit the companies to get them to certify them to have the ISO certification or not. And also I am a certified software engineer, which means I am good at firewalls, blah, blah. So what is social engineering? Social engineering is the art of manipulating to get what you want. So it is some kind of voodoo. It is the way that you can do anything to get the access without the permission of the target. So if you're interested in social engineering, I kindly suggest you to read the books of Kevin Mitnick. Those are the very beautiful books. They are so great resources that you can understand the idea of social engineering. And it takes confidence, research, time, and people who believe you, who you say you are. So, as an example, in Turkey there was a very big frauding incident happened. I don't know the year. So the name of the frauding was Çiftlik Bank, and the creator of that company or whatever the project, I don't know how you can give the name. So you can, yeah, the guy was he escaped from Turkey, and many people believe that he was in Argentina, in other South American countries. But me and some of my friends, as an operation, we did some social engineering attacks and find out that he was in Sao Paulo, and now he is in Turkey. He came to Turkey from Sao Paulo. That means we can find anything, anyone on internet by just doing a good social engineering attack. So social engineering itself is only one step in a long list of steps to getting information from a company. Yes, for example, to get that guy, we first got in touch with the developer of the website, the Çiftlik Bank team, and then find out the real email address, Instagram address, accounts of that CEO, of the owner of this frauding activity. And then we attacked to him. And I think that whole process took about 4 or 5 months, which is for a hacker not a big deal, but also a long process for any business. So to pull off a successful attack, the attacker needs a lot of information. Yes, that's why we always suggest people to give less information, the minimal information on social media. Social media is a very good resource for any hacker. And then, yes, we have some technical things to plan an attack. And yes, while we are talking with the target, we also make our virtual environment to make him, he is clicking on the right link, he is entering his credentials to the right website, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, we're always getting in touch with him. We're trying to understand his hobbies, his any interests of anything, so that we can make a better friendship with him, which is very useful tactic for an social engineer. Yes, and this information comes from research and hacking into places in a company. Yes, we hack, and it doesn't mean that we hack just on internet, just penetrating the systems of the target. We also try to how to say, to enter the building of the target company. So there are two stages. Sometimes, yes, we go by physically and we try to get more information as possible as we can. And if we don't have any chance to get the physical access, it means that we are trying to penetrate the system by making calls, phone calls, sending emails, and malicious software. Sometimes we're trying to send them. It's a huge process, but in most of the cases, it is a success. It is ending with a success. So when an attacker is getting ready to pull off a social engineering attack, he or she needs to do research on the companies and employees. Yes, we're making research on social media. Yes, I mentioned it, but also there are too many white papers, too many forum posts, especially sometimes the technical guys are asking some questions that they cannot handle. So sometimes they give many information about the products they're using. For example, they're giving the name of the how to say, with the firewall and the version. So we understand that we have to research for the vulnerabilities, the exploits of that specific version of that specific brand. So from this, they will gain vital information to be used. Phone calls and emails can be sent out to gain even more vital information. Yes, but first we have to get information about the characteristics of the target, of the people. Sometimes we can find out their email addresses by just using some social engineering tools, which you can find in any Linux distribution that a hacker uses, such as Kali Linux or Parrot OS. They are always embedded. So you just type some, you just you just type some commands and then click on enter, and then the email addresses of the employees of your target company is on your screen. Yes, there are many social engineering techniques. You can see the most used ones on the slide. Shoulder surfing, for example. This is what I honestly do on any penetration testing of any company. I try to be so friendly. I approach, and then while I'm talking, I look at from the over the shoulder of the person and try to understand what he's working on, and try to understand the password that he is entering, blah blah blah. So dumpster diving is also very important. Please don't think that if you tear up any paper, it means that you're in safe. No, you're not. Sometimes many of the hackers use this dumpster diving. So role playing, yes, I pretend to be as another man sometimes when I am talking with any employee of the company to get to gain more information. It means that you have to be some kind of warm-blooded man. You have to have some practical intelligence. So you have to sometimes create a cover mask, blah blah blah. It's something like a secret agent is trying to get and to enter the systems. It's something like that. Yes, Trojan horses are still in process. Yes, they are still very useful. If you have some Trojan horses that cannot be discovered by any antivirus, that means that you are so lucky, because in most cases it also works. Phishing is today's most of the important malicious activities that the companies have to take care of. You have to take countermeasures. You have to have some tools, cybersecurity awareness trainings to mitigate the risk. But phishing is the most advanced attacks in the world still. So surfing online content, yes, we sometimes try to gain information from the newspapers, from the official website of the company, and the social media accounts of the company, and as well as the employees. And reverse social engineering is a little bit technical thing, but it is some kind of that you're playing with a toy if you're a good hacker, if you have advanced skills. So social engineering totally, if you're a technical guy or not, is very dangerous if you don't have a good countermeasures on your company. Okay, so how does an average attack progress? You see that some of the colors on the words are different. That you have seen that. I think probably you have already seen that on Facebook. Many of your friends already shared that. So this is also a kind of social engineering. So this image is some kind of how to say, the easiest way to understand what a social engineering is. Okay, so we understand what is social engineering. We understand that this is very um, dangerous thing for any kind of business. Yes. So how to defend against social engineering? There's no concrete way to defend against social engineering attacks. You never can how to say you can always have a minimum risk. So there is no way to escape from it. So also you have to periodically you have to take some security awareness training, all your company employees, but especially the ones that are always interacting with the customers and also the management level. So you have to mark some social engineering tools. Some, for example, your IT employees should send some kind of phishing attacks, some simulation, so you can understand that who is clicking on it, who is entering the credentials on the wrong website, blah blah blah. So and yeah, after getting the metrics, you can do it periodically and understand that if the percentage is decreasing or not. Yes, physical security is also very important. This is why there are too many ISMS standards that we are also having a look in any audit, internal audit of the company, to how to say to understand that they are compliant with the ISMS standard or not, such as for example PCI DSS. So you have to always take care of your desk. It should always be clean. That there should not be any post-its on your screen. You have to take care of your trash cans. So there are too many things that you have to take care of. Okay, also background verification. While you're trying to hire an employee, you also should make a good research about his background. That, for example, if a hacker is using your social media accounts, you can also use the person's, the applicant's social media accounts to get more information about his characteristics. Okay, so you can see the percentage of the cyber risks, political risk, natural disasters, terrorism, war, operational supply chain disruptions of the business in the worldwide. So cyber risks are very huge. And you can see that role-based effects of cyber attacks. You see, for example, for a CEO, loss of reputation and market, legal issues. Yes, he has to handle with all those things. So, for example, with a CIO, for a CIO, loss of corporate data privacy, integrity, and availability is his nightmare, and blah, blah, blah. So there were also some statistics on cyber attacks. You can see many percentages, some, how to say, losses, etc. So I'm just passing it. And yes, you can see some cyber attacks on media, and cyber attacks are getting more advanced day by day. For example, in the previous times, I mean maybe in the beginning of the 20s, 20,000 years, so the attacks were not that much advanced. We were just trying to deface the website. We were just trying to send an Trojan horse. But today we are trying to deal with the APT attacks, advanced persistent threats, for example. So statistics of cyber attacks also, you see for the humans, phishing simulation training, suspicious activity. You have to get those kinds of trainings. So process, yes, it should be yearly planned. Monthly newsletter and notifications should also be sent to the employees to get more awareness, more discipline, more politics. That means you have to train your employees periodically. So technology, yes, you can have some kind of security products on cloud or locally. Cyber intelligence solutions is also very important. And maybe you can get an artificial support, intelligence support, and threat simulation, which I mentioned just a few minutes before. It is also very important to mitigate the cyber attacks. Yes, as Vitral Tech, what we are doing for your company, for your business, yes, we prepare an annual cybersecurity awareness program, and then we establish a cybersecurity awareness executive team, and then we identify the target groups and awareness needs, and we also um, how to say, we have to take action to understand if you have any vulnerabilities, and if you have, how we can exploit them, which means a penetration testing. So we have to do a penetration testing periodically. I kindly suggest you to have it at least once a year. And yes, we have some simulations. We try to have a cooperation with the company to get more posters about the cybersecurity awareness, tutorials, tips, etc. So we are also a solution partner of KeepNet Labs. So it means that we are trying to give the best solution to your company. And yes, realization of plan simulations and training. And yes, periodically we have some reviews, evaluations, and reporting to your management level. So what is penetration testing? And before I begin my speech, Mr. Khan also mentioned it. So it means that yes, I am a hacker, and as a hacker, I hack your systems. But before hacking it, you give me the permission, and then I do it, you know it, and then I show you the report. I say you that in those of your systems there are those vulnerabilities, and as a hacker I have exploited them. Now I can see your data, I can do anything on your server, blah blah blah. So I prove it that any hacker, any advanced hacker can do it what I did. It means penetration testing. So as a client, you pay for the report. It means, yes, I'm a hacker. I hack your website. I hack your network. I hack your servers. I hack your endpoint systems. But at the end of the day, I I provide a report. I generate a report, and then you pay for it. Yes, there are some types of penetration testing which are very similar with the types of hackers. You know, there are some white hat hackers. You can consider him as um, Gandalf the White, which he is a wizard, but also Saruman is also a wizard, but he's a bad guy. He chose the dark side, so it means that he is the black hat hacker. So, and also there is a gray hat hacker. Yes, he also hacks your website without your permission, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't steal your information. He doesn't delete your data. He's just a curious guy. And on the penetration testing, a white box penetration means your company provides me as much as details about your systems, about the IP addresses, about the OS that's running on the computers, and about the, for example, any services such as MySQL, PostgreSQL, MSSQL, or blah blah blah. So that means if you provide me many information, it means white box. If you provide me, yes, information, but as not much as the uh, white box penetration testing, it means gray box. Yes, I have some information about your company, but in most cases I am acting like a black hat hacker. And black box penetration testing is totally, I am pretending to be a black hat hacker. You don't give me any information, but I try to hack your website or your any system, like any other guy does on the outsides of your company. Yes, during the penetration testing, what we do, we first do information gathering, then network mapping. We scan your systems, and then if we find out any vulnerabilities, we try to exploit it. And then if we exploit it, yes, we are trying to escalate our access. We grant access, and then we do the escalations to be the administrator on the server. So we try to also infiltrate other networks. For example, if I hack any website, it means that if it is running on a server, maybe if there are any other web applications, it means maybe I can infiltrate to other websites also. So I try to keep my access and then recover the tracks so you cannot find out what I have done on your systems. And yes, as a penetration tester, I provide the report and serve it to you. Here you can see some of the standards, penetration testing standards, such as OWASP. It is used for web application penetration testing, and the other ones are most of the times we do it for the network penetration testings. So why should you have a penetration test? Yes, testing, controlling, and reporting any vulnerabilities of the information systems owned by an external institution and or a company is one of the first steps of proactive security. Yes, you have to understand your gaps so you can take some countermeasures to have the cybersecurity proactive security. So outsource tests evaluate various security vulnerabilities out of the attention of companies with different approaches and reveal the vulnerability as a result of coordinated work. Yes, for example, in most of the companies, there are some kind of guys that are interested in cybersecurity. Yes, they are sometimes trying to do some vulnerability analysis, and very minimal numbers of them are trying to do the penetration testing. But no, you're not a professional one, and even if you are, you have to have how to say, a service uh, from an outside of perspective. So this is the good way to do the penetration testing. Yes, you can do it, but please try to hire some good penetration testers outside of your company. Yes, if you do some periodic scans, periodic security tests, it means that you can always see the vulnerabilities on your systems, and you can patch the hot fixes the vulnerabilities in a very short time. And if you do this in a systematic way, yes, you are fighting against the cyber attacks. Yes, you are a good cybersecurity manager. And yes, Pentest project management. So before doing before the pen test, the company and the penetration tester should have some kind of agreement, such as the scope of the pen test, which IP addresses I have to scan, which servers you want me to penetrate. So this means the scope of the project. So in many cases, time is also very important. For example, if you're an e-commerce company, maybe you can say that yes, our customers are not buying anything, for example, after 5 o'clock. So you can begin your penetration testing at that time, and please provide me how much hours should it take, and then if we agree, you can keep doing it. For example, you have to make some communications, make agreements in such things with the penetration tester. So also you have to check who is going to do your test. Is he a really good guy? Do you think that he will keep your secrets? Do you have any agreements with the company of the penetration tester? Maybe he is an individual, I don't know. So, and also, is he a real hacker, and is he really good enough? Does he have any cybersecurity certification, blah, blah, blah. So you have to understand the skills of the guy who is going to perform the test. Yes, and also how often should you have it? So for example, if you are PCI DSS compliant, it means you're already enforced to do it at least once a year. So it is basically depending on your government, your how to say your company policy or the standards you're complying with and such things. So yes, these are the details that before doing any penetration testing, maybe you can see if you want any DDoS attacks, if you want any buffer overflows, if you want any malicious activities on your systems. It is all depending on the activity of your company and the basic skills of your IT guys. Yes, I told you that you pay for the penetration testing report. So one of the most important components of penetration testing is reporting, yes. And from a commercial point of view, as I have mentioned before, you are going to pay for the report. Therefore, the pen test report should be as detailed as possible and the guide to the customer corrected. For example, yes, I show you the vulnerabilities on your system, but I also try to give you the remedy. I always write some suggestions so your IT guys can follow those steps and mitigate the risk. And blah blah blah. So there is some any other activities. For example, if the guy is sending the penetration report by just email, the via email, without ciphering it, without using any passwords, it means that you're already sucked. So it means the guy should already um, cipher it. It should be protected with a password. Yes, for example, the encrypted file should be sent via email, but also the password should be sent by, for example, SMS or WhatsApp or Telegram or any other platforms. So what to do after pen tests? Yes, sharing pen test reports with the senior management and also the IT guys is very important. We should write the report as soon as possible and share it with the company, presenting its results to the management as part of a risk map, not as simple openings. Examine the report in detail and determine who is of interest to each vulnerability. For example, the vulnerability is on the website, it means that the developers should have to take care of it. And for example, if the vulnerability is on the OS, it means that the system administrator should should apply the patch. So yes, we have to meet the system administrators, network administrators, the software team, and share the results. Yes, we have to follow up the closures. For example, if you say me that the employees fixed all the vulnerabilities, I have to do another penetration testing, an easier one to find out yes you have fixed it or not. And yes, we have to determine the next pen test date. This is my last slide. If you do all these, for example, security training, awareness, phishing simulations, email protections, you do vulnerability assessment, penetration testings periodically, okay. But what I also suggest you is to be compliant with the information system security management, such as ISO, such as SOC 2 or PCI DSS. And if you do this, if you're compliant with some of those or one of those, it means that your company is always having a proactive cybersecurity, and it's always protected by nature. So this is my email address. Thank you for listening to me.
I think you have some questions.
I cannot see it. Where is it? Do we? No, not yet.
Mr. Quasi Alal Hussein Dip raised his hand.
Ah, okay. Maybe by accident.
Maybe. Okay. Thank you, Atalay. This is the Ercan part now. I will a bit explain who he is. Ercan had an undergraduate and graduate from the physics engineering, and also he did his postdoc actually in Perugia INFN and also CERN facility in Switzerland. And he did also another postdoctoral research in UK. He is our data analytic manager, and also he is also our project manager. Ercan?
Okay. You see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, then let me move it here. And okay. So today I'm going to talk about this platform. The name of the platform is, or the software is IDEA, which is produced by Caseware Analytics it's a company in Canada. First, before going to explain this, I would like to emphasize that the IDEA stands for an abbreviation that is Interactive Data Extraction and Analysis. And IDEA is a technology tool for detecting and identifying frauds and irregularities that are already mentioned up to that time. But the good thing is that as a user, I mean, that IDEA software makes such fraud identification processes convenient for non-programmers, which is a good sign for the people who are not volunteer to learn good neat stuff. So the interface is like this, and then there's a home tab here, and there are some shortcuts for file handlings. Before explaining this home tab, I would like to say that so yes, for each project, people needs to make a may need to create a project type, even it's a managed project or external project. So there are some functionalities inside this import assistant. So any user can import import data from different kind of format, such as, let's say, Microsoft Excel or ODBC sources, or even from PDF files. The data can be exported, or SAP services that can also be imported. The data can be also be exported, imported. So I skip this part. I mean, importing stuff. So I assume that we have imported the data and then created one folder for the for any company. So inside this, I move to the other sections, like analysis section. So there are some. Before I let me open one file. Let's say grocery sales. Okay, it's not important for a moment. So so now these fields are now active. Then let's start with importing very simple file. Suppose that we have we open this folder and then we want to import our file is like this. Instead of using an import assistant, we can use also in drag and drop by using dragging and drop. So before going through these buttons, first thing as a data analyst must do is the field statistic to understand how the data statistics are. So it generates the for each numeric character or date field statistics, and then let's say time for the most common time or minute. This kind of entries it gives us. So I go back to data, and then, as I said, I go, instead of going to details, I go directly to the discovery section. This section performs 3 different algorithms based on your data fields. It generates a dashboard, and then anyone can change the layout of this dashboard for later use. Suppose that we need to make a report for each week, so we can use this dashboard. Sorry, it came to other screen. So this, as I said, the layout can be changed by clicking these windows. Let's say I want to see the duplicate entries inside this amount field that we have. So first I activate it, and then it duplicates. So it's now duplicated. So there are some statistics, and then, as I said, some plots that might give an insight for the person that is making the analysis. So if you want to save it, the files, save the template, I mean, you can save for later use. So I skip it, don't save. So I go back to that screen. So I would prefer talking about this 2 sections, especially Smart Analyzer section and Idea Lab section. So I jump to the Smart Analyzer section directly. Inside this Smart Analyzer section, there are some freely distributed applications or plugins, however you call plugins that can be used under Idea. So I would start with exceptional exceptions. Exceptional exceptions is a utility or plugin that helps you quickly understand high-risk transactions and generate risk-based samples for an insightful analysis. So the steps are this, following like this Z structure or SOL structure. So first, you assign the fields properly based on your data field. Based on your data. I skip these 2 parts because it's taking time. Instead of this, I would like to talk about this audit tests after you setting these parameters. Yes, I just click the audit test. So as I said, there are 14 different general ledger tests which are mostly used by auditors, but such as what out of balance or potential duplicate journals, such as what unusual journal entries posted on unusual time, or as already explained, like a Benford law test, like a two digits, sorry, or last two digits analysis that can be done. After doing this analysis, after doing this test, user create a risk-based sample. By what? By saying risk-based sample, what? You put the score and for each test, how? Like this. Suppose that potential duplicate journal entries, these kind of entries are imported to sample my to sample the table. My data. So let's say I put from 1 to 10, not here, but in another section, from 1 to 10 a number, which indicates it's a score for this test. Or let's say journal entries posted on weekends are important for me, so I set 10 over 10, or let's say for this Benford log for 2 digits, it's last 2 digits. They are also important, so I put a score over 10 by setting here. So after following this each step, it generates a risk-based sample within the score that you have given based on this test. Instead of going through all the long list of, long file, you create a sample from this by using this application. Another application within this smart analyzer, a financial application. So you create a request and then import routines. There are import routines which is a application that import your file from different platforms, SAP or let's say from Microsoft or Excel. So I go again this audit test. So it has 5 different sections like general ledger and accounts receivable or inventory. So I click here, and then there are almost 70 different tests grouped within this, as I said, 5 different sections. Accounts balance. So to do this, you first tag the field. By saying the field, you open the file. Okay, you open the file and then take the field accordingly. Like here, I said general ledger. Where is general ledger? Here. Yes. By period. So for some of the fields are mandatory, the red ones are mandatory. You don't need to set, but you have to define, let's say, account number. So you set account number. So after setting each of this, I click after setting each of this, you click this checkbox and then run the test. Suppose that you don't want to make this as I did now, step by step, but you set every tag properly and every input values again is its required option, and then you save your settings, and then you can, once you click everything here, you can start run, and then even you can make this application to run in a different time, or with the time you define, like a job automation. Yes. It was financial application, and then here again I still stay here. We developed some other applications for the for the external and internal auditors. Namely, this internal auditing, we have almost 23 different tests. So as in the financial application, you set the tag, and then for the, let's say, if we, for some of the fields, it needs to be entered, so you put them as well properly. So this is the Smart Analyzer section, and then I go to the Idea Lab section. Inside Idea Lab, so inside this Smart Analyzer application, as I said before, you can automate this job. For Idea Lab application, you need to sit in front of your PC, and then you start analyze by using this application, one of these application, which may help your cases, such as what I would like to start with this fuzzy join. Suppose that we have the sample employee database, and then also the suppliers database. So my aim to understand if the employee address and supplier address are the same. So for this purpose, we can use fuzzy join application, which are distributed by Idea Lab software. Once you click it, it goes there, and you can download. So I start. So suppliers, and then you need to select the second database, which was first one is suppliers, second one was employees. So you need to match the field names that you will make a fuzzy join. So supplier address and address based on this number 80. I will come again later. This is the fuzzy join similarity, like a similarity degree. So once I start running this application, it makes some calculations and creating some template databases. That will be deleted afterwards. But what this application does, as I said, from addresses field names, it checks the similarity for each addresses. So it was supplier address. I move it here, and then it was the final similarity degree. Again, I moved here. So I check these two address, supplier address and employee address. This fuzzy join logic algorithm check the spaces or capital or lowercase characters, and then finds us a similarity degree. So this gives us some suspicious records that we have our supplier address and the employee address are the same. This is one scenario that we might have. Another scenario is about, I close this. Let's say another scenario is this, like this. So to use general relative size factor, it's a method to identify anomalies in, record sets. First, you open this, and then for this you need to click the amount field. So based on this amount field, account description, and then let's say I make some subset of this. So I use user by each account description. It will take the amount as a field. So I start running. So what it does, as I said, for each subset, it takes the two top records and then makes a division of this, and it will give us a value, value that will help us if we have some kind of irregularities in our in our general ledger. So for this, I click not one, because as I said, it takes first two values. So I take the from the descending order. So what this graph, sorry, this dataset tells us. So this user, CK6 user, for this office suppliers, normally, okay, it's the amount is about 70, but it's created, this person created as a 2000 number. So this is taking a lion's shares of our journal entries that is recorded for this this product, and then for entered by this person, okay. You can save it as a later use to understand what is going on in this in this ledger file. As I said, there are other utilities such as what Z-score calculator. Z-score, as you probably know, it helps to calculate the standard deviation of any numeric field. What else I would share? First, let me start with sample detail sales. So there are some applications are using a machine learning approach, like here text analysis, like a sentiment analysis. This is another machine learning stuff, like unsupervised learning. So I click here, outliers. Outliers is another, as I said, another kind of application which uses 3 different algorithms. Local outlier factor or isolation force, or this one, support vector machine. So it is taking these 2 and then makes an ensemble of this. So for this, for numeric field, I set, let's say, sales plus tax, and then for categoric variables, I set category, and then there are other options that can be changed, but I said I leave them as default values. So I just start. So based on this product code, it checks the outlier by using 2 different algorithms that I showed here before, local outlier and isolation forest. In the end, it gives us the, it's running still, sorry. Yes. In the end, it gives us, okay, it gives us 2 outliers in different, as unicorn alerts. For it says us 98% of our data is normal, but we have 2 outliers. Let's see. In some cases, but here it's not displayed, but it says the reason why I found this as an outlier based on this production code and then sales plus. This is an outlier, but as a unicorn alert, as I said again. So done. And what else? As I said, like currency converter or get next, get previous application. Let's say that I have the again here journal. If I have time, yes, I have time value. Suppose that I want to see. I close my my recordings at 5 o'clock, and then I set it here. I put it here a criteria, and then after 5 o'clock, or not 5 o'clock, between 5 and 6 o'clock, it filters the data, and then you get, by using this application, it returns you, let's say I set it 10, before 5 o'clock, the 10 records will be displayed, and also the after 6 o'clock 10 records will be displayed. So what else I showed here? One last thing that we are developing. This is a customer segmentation. Since it's a sorry, Turkish one, I move it here. So what it does, I open the file first. For this application here is a, suppose that we have a from a retail sector, we have a data, and then I wait for it's uploading then. Yes. So I again make the tagging here, invoice date, invoice unit price, and quantity, and then quantity. So there are two options to cluster our customers. So one is analytical way, the other is machine learning. So we develop two kind of things. So I start with RFM. RFM, by the way, stands for recency, frequency, and monetary. So it returns this RFM cluster. I just check the here statistics, and then I go character segment. Yes, sorry, RFM score. Sorry. Yes, here now. Segment, I closed, unchecked it by mistake. So we have this kind of clusters. So it tells us, okay, how many customers are inactive. So it returns us based on this customer. It tells us how many are inactive. And then the other one that I said before, here was the analytic approach. The other is machine learning approach. I just go with the k-means, which means how many clusters will be separated our customers. To understand this, maybe we go to do this method to understand the inertia of our clusters. So let's see, this is like an exponential decay. So I can set 5 or 6. So for this case, I just set, let's say, 5 clusters. I segment our customers. So after starting run, it returns us like here, 5 customers segmented. I don't want to touch in the density-based scale because it's taking time. So quit.
Erkan, could you? Okay. We are going to finish actually, Erkan.
Okay. Thanks. I finished then.
Unfortunately, Atalay left school. He is doing his PhD now. He says sorry for his life. Chris?
Yeah, Can. I mean, it's obviously, if anybody's got any questions that have not been answered for each of your colleagues, if they send the questions in either directly to yourselves or to our email address at the British Chamber, Dilruba will pass them on. So we can get answers. I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking about the information that you've been sharing because it's quite a lot to take in. And as they think more about it, the more questions will come to mind. So I'm sure we will be getting a few more questions coming through later. But no, it's been a very interesting session, and data protection. Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm saying data protection is becoming far more complicated, and as technology gets more sophisticated, the threat of being hacked and a cyber attack, is becoming more relevant, and is happening more often. So we have to get ahead of the curve on this one, and make sure that we have all the protection in place so that we reduce the risk of this happening. And at Med Group and with Atalay, there's enough knowledge and experience there to provide the necessary preventions that will help companies protect themselves. Just one question, and I think this goes to Erkan Bey. What's the difference between what you do and what data scientists do?
Ercan, can you answer that question?
Okay, data analysis is okay. You have let's say some set of data, and then you try to get some insights from this data, like an exploratory analysis. For data scientists, As I showed in the last last section, like a customer segmentation, it is using some algorithms that mainly in two different areas, supervised or unsupervised learning. Or there are other tools, but okay, we are using here unsupervised learning. They are using these tools and these algorithms to make identification for the data sets. I mean, creating new insights, which are not hidden inside the real data.
Okay, so doing what you do, data analytics, and a data scientist would work together?
Yes, they could work together because each data needs to be analyzed before going extra steps to understand what kind of data you have. And then afterwards, you can apply such machine learning algorithms to this data. But first of all, you need to analyze data. I mean, this is like a first step.
Okay, thank you, John Bay. I mean, we're all getting educated as we go through this. And I know from, I mean, my son is a data scientist and I have no idea what he does. But he's never been able to explain it to me. But maybe I'm at an age when this sort of technological advancement is passing me by. But anyway, is there any other points that you wish to make before we draw it to a close?
Okay, we are giving to forensic accounting and cybersecurity advising services if anyone needs. Actually, we are doing doing the expertise in London courts. It has a conflict between one UK, one Turkish firm. It has happened on the courts in London, and we are giving to our service, forensic accounting service, to London court now.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting and valid point. In that, for anybody on the webinar who's UK based, then you can get that advice and consultancy in UK as well as you can get it in Turkey. So we're covering both ends of the spectrum there. So that's a great value. And at BCCT we want to have those connections between Turkey and UK. And there's been a lot of advancement in terms of technological innovation in Turkey, which is now spreading into Europe and to UK. So it's great to hear that you have that presence in UK as well. Okay, any other points? Can you want to mention anything?
No, not on my perspective now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you everybody for participating. And as I mentioned earlier, if there are any questions that come to mind later when you've digested what has been discussed, then please send your questions to BCCT at our email information address, and we'll pass them on to the relevant speaker. So thank you again, and take care and stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.